Good morning or good afternoon, everyone, to Session Spotlight on this Monday. We're so excited that you've joined us today. We've got four folks today: Susan Lazear, Angela Schneider, Jenny Schu, and Ben Jones. I want to remind everybody, Convergence is July the 11th through the 17th in Wichita, Kansas. We have a variety of things to offer. We've got the marketplace, we've got exhibits, the fashion show, the keynote, the tours, and so much more. We're going to start off today with Susan Lazear, the Textile Arts of Japan, a 90-minute seminar. It's Friday afternoon, July the 12th. Hello, Susan.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, you sound great.
Okay, good. I'm going to say hello, and then I'm going to share my screen here and go into full mode here with PowerPoint. All right, well, I'm going to be teaching or giving a lecture on the textile arts of Japan.
Susan, I want to interrupt you. We're not seeing the full PowerPoint. You're in presenter mode.
Oh, this didn't happen before. So let's do this in case.
If you click on use slideshow, it should work. There you go. Well,
okay.
We're still seeing the ones on the side. So just
I know, but I think I'm just going to leave it that for sake of time.
There we go.
Okay. All right. So I've spent time in Japan on 3 occasions. One, I was on sabbatical and had a wonderful experience studying textile arts in Japan at that point. So I have pulled together a presentation. I have also taught textile design and textile arts as part of my curriculum at San Diego Mesa College. But this lecture is focusing on Japan, and I have a passion for the country and their textile arts. They have a very long and rich history, and they're considered both masters in dyeing and in weaving techniques. The 2 main cities related to textile arts in a more major way are Kyoto, which is a much more intimate type of city, beautiful to walk around. And then there is Tokyo, which is a huge city, very cosmopolitan by contrast. So I'm going to be going through in the lecture a variety of textile art techniques, and I'm just kind of teasing you with the names of them here. But we'll talk about kasori, which is a resist dyeing technique where the actions happen by prepping the threads before you get to the loom. So you are tying plastic around and doing resist dyeing so that parts of the warp and or weft can be resist the dye, and it builds a pattern in the cloth, otherwise known as ikat in other parts of the world. But this is a sample of a type of garment that has clothing made from it. And I'll almost always have examples of clothing made with these techniques, some traditional and some more modern. Then, of course, there is shibori, which is another resist dyeing technique. And there's multiple approaches to doing this, sometimes with threads, sometimes with pieces of wood, sometimes with stitching. But in all cases, you're doing resist techniques and binding off areas of the fabric so that they won't receive the dye. So these are just some examples. These were stitch and dye techniques that I took a workshop at the Shibori Museum, and I've done more since. And this is another type where you pull wrap what you're doing and it leaves, it's called arashi. This is one of my favorites, and there's many different ways to do it, but this was just one. I visited a workshop that was in progress outside of Tokyo, 1 week of indigo. Unfortunately, the timing didn't work for me to be part of that. Then there is katagami, which is a stencil design and very old traditional technique, and basically you prepare a stencil for each color of dye that's to be applied to the cloth. So here you can see these were the stencils for one fabric, one print put into repeat. So there were 9 or 10 different colors of fabric on that. That's how I have trouble with this one. Sutsugaki is a resist technique also, and in this case, they're using a tube to apply a paste onto the cloth that will resist color when the dyeing happens. So this is more like drawing as opposed to cutting and putting color through the cut stencils. Kumihimo is a braiding technique that is used for many purposes, but a common one is to create small braids that are used to help hold the kimonos in place. And so this is a type of kumihimo loom per se. I don't know if loom is the right word, but you learn to wrap in a sequence, and the sequence will dictate what the braid looks like. These were people in the workshop that I visited. Sashiko is a stitching technique done on the surface of cloth. It's more in line with quilting and embroidery. And so you put the image in chalk or some form on your cloth and then do a running stitch along the cloth, a 1/4 inch going in and out. This is a more modern version, but very beautiful. And then of course there is boro, which is a folk technique of basically repatching cloth. It started with people who were so poor that they just had to keep patching, but it's led to this wonderful phenomenon that we have now of people, using this technique and finding modern ways of using it. And then I'll also talk about some current Japanese companies that create fashion that are trying to keep the traditional, not just the art, but also the imagery that was used traditionally on kimono and other. They're using some of the same art, but in a more modern way. And then I like to also feature current fashion designers that utilize in some form or other Japanese textiles or textile art in their approach. And it's nice when they give the nod to the technique. I believe that's all I have, but if there's any questions, you have a sampling of what I'll be covering in the lecture.
Thank you, Susan. Is there a handout for this? Is there a fee?
There's no fee. I'll probably have a 1-page handout just with some of
Wonderful.
the resources and, the names and a summary.
Well, it's a wonderful presentation. I mean, there's so much fiber that comes out of Japan. What a great topic. So thank you so much, Susan. It's the Textile Arts of Japan. It's a 90-minute seminar. It's Friday afternoon on July 12th. Next is Angela Schneider, Beginning Inkle Weaving. It's a 1-day workshop on Sunday, July the 14th. Hey, Angela.
Hi, Kathy. Thanks for having us here. That's seminar of Susan's looks fabulous. I would
know,
be
it makes me
excited
want to
take that. But another exciting opportunity is inkle weaving. I'm really happy about getting to share this with some new weavers. We're going to be doing this on Sunday, July 14th, and it's an all-day class. We will start from scratch. And inkle weaving is the narrow warp face bands. Let's see. Let's start this up. So there you go. Beginning inkle weaving on Sunday the 14th. To show, there it is. So this is narrow warp face bands, and these are nice. There it goes. So this is a selection of plain weave inkle bands. There's a few in this collection that are showing on the screen right now that are not plain weave, but most of them are plain weave. That's what we're going to be focusing on this particular class. It's all the patterning is created by the color order in the warp. And inkle bands are really useful for all sorts of purposes. They're great for straps on your bags, for closures, for guitar straps and lanyards. They're good for dog collars and leashes. This is actually you see the puppy there. That's the work of my niece. I taught her how to inkle weave, and we did this together for her beagle. Yoga straps. You can actually stitch bands together to make fabric for larger pieces of fabric. You can make tabs to put on your hand towels or your bath mitts or your pot holders. All just innumerable uses for these. We're going to be working on the Inkle loom. There's all sorts of ways you can do these narrow warp face bands. You can do them on floor looms or rigid heddles with backstrap or the Swedish style band loom. We're going to be focusing on just the Inkle loom, either the tabletop model. I've got an assortment of large to tiny they're showing, or the floor model, whatever you've got. You just need to have an Inkle loom to be able to weave on it. The workshop is going to start by getting your loom ready. We'll make our heddles and make sure they're sized properly for the loom. You'll learn to read the pattern. You'll be able to pick out one of several patterns I have in the handout and use your colors to design your pattern and work with the colors that you bring. We'll warp the loom and talk about how to manage multiple yarns and how to decide how long your warp needs to be. We'll look at the weaving process, which is pretty simple, but there's some finessing to make your bands just right. I see a lot of folks when they start weaving, they don't realize just how tight you need to pull that weft. Like even my first band, I've got it right here. It's a little wobbly because I didn't have any idea what the tension was. Well, many years and many yards later, I've got the technique down for getting those edges neat, and I'll share that with you. And there's going to be lots of samples in different yarns because what weaver doesn't like digging through samples. So I've got things from 4/4 cotton that are really bulky down to 10/2 pearl cotton. I've even got one sample that's done in 1/22 silk. We're not going to start weaving on that. That's a little bit crazy for your first band. We're going to stay in the 3/2 or 5/2 pearl cotton range because that's easy to work with as you're getting started. So this workshop is for new band weavers. If you have no experience required for this particular one, it's great for multi-shaft weavers or rigid heddle weavers that want to add a technique to their repertoire so that they can make coordinating handles and straps for their loom woven work. It's great for complete beginners. If you don't have any weaving experience at all, that's fine. You'll get some. It's great for self-taught band weavers who maybe you started on your own and your bands aren't working quite right, or you aren't quite sure if you're doing it efficiently. We'll clean up your technique and get you well on your way. It's even great for knitters. I have a purse here that's actually a knitted fabric, but the same yarn, Inkle woven strap. This is my knitting bag. So even knitters are welcome to come and play with this and try out the Inkle loom. The materials, there's a $2 fee for the full color handout. It's 10 pages long, lots of color pictures that document the process so that when you get home and decide you want to try it again after your excitement from Convergence settles a little bit, you're ready to get on the loom, there's pictures documenting how to do everything. You'll need to have an Inkle loom, one of these tabletop models. Whatever size you've got is going to be fine. You'll need your string heddles or a ball of smooth, strong cord, like pearl cotton will work fine for this. We'll make our heddles at the beginning of class. You need a belt shuttle, which is like a stick shuttle with a beveled edge. Your yarns, bring 2 to 5 colors of either 3/2 or 5/2 or 8/4 carpet work works fine. Crochet yarns work fine. We'll rewrite your pattern in your colors. So that's why you need the colored pencils. That's a little later on the list. You'll need a sewing gauge or small ruler. I kind of like the sewing gauges with the little slider on them so I can set my width and remember how wide my band should be. Small ruler will be fine. And of course, your usual tools, your scissors and your tapestry needle. So the requirements for doing Inkle weaving are pretty small. Once you've got the Inkle loom, everything else is pretty easy. So that's it. There's beginning Inkle weaving. And any questions on this one?
Well, a couple of things. You have your cheering section here. A couple of people are saying how wonderful your class was and that they learned so much and that you're very patient. And I have to say, I have stuck my head in the room where you were teaching, and I was so amazed and impressed with what people were doing that were baby weavers, and they were doing great stuff. So again, if you want to take up inkle weaving, and then another point is, because this is on Sunday, if you want to buy your loom at Convergence, there'll be all kinds of people there selling them. So that's another option.
It's an excellent point.
Beginning
And
inkle
I
weaving,
actually-
1-day
Yeah,
workshop.
and this is the handout, so you can see lots of pictures, lots of documentation, how to do it.
It's worth it just to get the handout. That's great.
Yeah.
Angela.
There's even a little bit section in here on the designing and how the various warp color orders create the figures that you end up with in your
Right.
band. So once we get weaving, we'll be able to talk about how the designs actually work.
All
So
right.
thanks, Kathy. Thanks
Sure.
for letting me share this.
All right. Beginning inkle weaving, 1-day workshop, Sunday, July the 14th. Next up, we have Jenny Schu. Keep track of your digital art life. It's a 90-minute seminar. It is Friday a.m., July the 12th. Jenny, this sounds like something I need. I need to keep track. All right.
Thank you, HGA, for having me, Kathy. And this is Friday, a 90-minute seminar. This came about because when I started teaching on Zoom, I would pull up pictures or examples of things that I didn't have in a PowerPoint or already set up, and everybody would go, "How did you find that so fast?" I've had various examples in my life where this has happened. My first artist residency, they almost didn't accept me because I was too thorough with my application, and they didn't believe I was a real artist. So I have become very organized and OCD about my files and photos and where everything is and how I organize it. And my background on that came from working at a law firm. I was there and I was kind of head of moving from paper filing to digital filing. So I took some law tech seminars and ended up applying this to my art life. And it's really kept me super organized. I can kind of last minute throw together an application and have my bio and my photos and everything I need from that I've used before, or I'm starting fresh and saving later. So this is just kind of my best practices, and starting to teach people how to apply this to your day-to-day life. Even it's not just for your art stuff too. I scan in all my bills so I can look at them later or whatever I might need. Also, I'll be reviewing what I use for spreadsheets for my artwork, why I still blog to keep track of like my own personal organization, and I can find it really quickly on the internet when I'm talking to somebody. When I'm out and about, I can just show them that piece of work that I'm looking for. And I just have a lot of systems in place. So I am producing some video that I am going to be showing during class, but I also want to have that accessible to everybody. I'll be sending out anybody who's taken the class. You'll have access to those videos for 2 months afterwards, because I know it takes a lot of practice to get the hang of where things need to go. And it's also difficult to talk and answer questions while I'm saving and moving files around, and just kind of show my rhythm of what I hunker down and do on a weekly, bi-weekly basis. Because that's how often just a little bit of time every week or every other week can keep you really on track as far as your photos and what you're doing with your artwork and all your just everything, documentation. I also have my husband's IT, so he's always like, "Why are you using that old program? There's this free version." So we'll kind of talk about what's accessible out there, that you don't have to pay for some versions of things, but it is about learning how to move stuff around. I am suggesting that people bring their laptops with them, and one of the need to know things before you come into class is preferably you have a backup. all of my photos saved to my Google. And so you'll be able to, you need to know how to download those to your computer files. So learning how to do that ahead of time. I don't want to spend a lot of time with people since we only have 90 minutes, how to move those documents around. But yeah, so that's kind of the basics. There's a lot to do when it comes to keeping organized, but also just, like I said, little practices on a weekly basis. You can really, you know, have everything at your fingertips when you need it.
Well, this is great. I mean, I heard two things that I've never heard of before to use. So I'm eager to get in there and listen to the rest of this, Jenny. Thank you so much. Again, this is another great workshop for whether you're a beginner or advanced, or if you don't want to take a loom, but you're looking, where can I become a better artist? This is a great workshop for you. Keep track of your digital art life. It's a 90-minute seminar. It is Friday morning, July the 12th. We were going to have Ben Jones, but he has had a work emergency and is not going to be able to join us today. We will try to reschedule him later in this week and get him on here also. So I apologize if you came on to see his presentation. Thank you all for joining us today. Just a reminder, there's so many sessions and opportunities, just like you saw this morning. If you want a seminar, if you want a workshop, 90 minutes, 3 hours, 1, 2, or 3 days. Just a reminder that you need, if you want to take a class, you need to have a membership. If you're going to take a couple of classes, you really need to get a CVP, and that is the Convergence Value Package. You get the fashion show with that, you get the keynote, you get a lovely bag, and you'll get a discount on all your classes. But just a reminder, you need to do the CVP before you buy your classes or you won't get the discount. If you have any more questions, please contact us. Registration is open. It's weavespindye.org. You can go online and see more about the sessions. You can download the book if you don't have it, the registration book, if you don't have it yet. We will see you this summer in Wichita, Kansas. Thank you all so much. We will have more Wednesday. So we've got more artists who are going to tell us more about their classes. Thank you for joining us.